They low-key was talking about me. So I'm like, are we weird? Ooh, please not right now. Like, no, I don't want him right now. Hey, my pretty fearless girlies. Welcome back to the Pretty Fearless Podcast with me, your host, Morgan Tracy J. All right, you guys, I am super excited about this particular episode because I'm doing something that I don't normally do, but I'm responding to something I've seen kind of go viral. But this episode is 32, not married, no kids, never been divorced or anything. Does that make you weird? Okay, does that make you weird? Because this is a clip that went viral that I want to talk about as a Christian woman, as a woman that's 32 that just got married this year, never been married, don't have no kids, and they low-key was talking about me. So I'm like, are we weird? Anyways, let's talk about it. So if you are new here, sis, this is the Pretty Fearless Podcast for all the faith girlies out there that want to be fearless in their faith, okay? So if you are new here, make sure you check us out on Spotify and Apple. Make sure you leave us a review because when you do that, you go in the running for some Fearless merch. And so you can check us out on YouTube or on Spotify and Apple, where you can get all the good stuff, girl, to be fearless in your faith, your fashion, your fitness, every single thing God is calling you to do this season, okay? Okay, ladies, I was just scrolling over on Instagram one evening, and I seen this clip where this guy is saying his father told him if there was a woman that was 32 years old, never been married, no kids, something is wrong with her. And this woman responded to him, and she's like telling him like, no, actually the lady's a boss. She's focused, she's driven, all that. And I went ahead and commented because I'm like, I'm 32, never been married. I just got married this year and have no kids. And I kind of agree with what sis was saying, like she's just really focused on other things. And so I want to break this video down today, and I want us to talk about how sometimes in society to be older in your 30s, mid 30s, late 30s, 40s, to not been married and to not have children, you automatically, people think something is wrong with you, okay? And let's talk about, is something really wrong with you, or really are you just focused and driven?
My father has told me that if a woman's over 32, never been married, never had any kids, there's something wrong with her.
All right. Tell your daddy. That if you find a woman who is 32 years old, don't have any kids, never been married, tell your daddy that she's educated and that she's planning to make financial decisions so she can afford the children that she has and send them to college instead of having them standing at the L stop. She can drive a Lexus to work. Tell your daddy that the woman is a boss.
The truth is, when the lady responded, I really agreed with a lot that she said because I was like, man, that's me, If you don't know, I am 32 years old. I just got married this year. I've never been married. I do not have any children, even if to me, I do because I claim a dog as a child, but anywho. But yeah, I've been pretty on my own, like abstinence, purity, faith journey, purpose journey. So reality is, I actually am pretty shocked that I got married when I did, because truthfully, I've been so focused on other things where marriage was really never my number one. While for somebody, maybe early 20s, maybe mid 20s, marriage might be their number one thing, and that's all they really see. So that's what they're focused on. When for me in my 20s, I was not focused on marriage. I barely was focused on dating. Let me be real. I was focused on my dreams, my purpose, and God, okay? And so I want to talk to you about that from my experience as a 32-year-old that just got married this year, that's really walking this new season out, but really did not have, marriage was never like number one on my list. My dreams, my goals, my YouTube, my business, my Jesus, all of that has always been number one. And I always thought, well, when the right person comes along, I'll know it because then they will add to my life, right? And that's what I want to say. I am 32 years old now, and I'm newly married. I think I've been married about 5-6 months. I can't count, y'all. But anyway, I've been married for a little bit. And when I heard the guy say, like, you're weird, I remember feeling like that at times when I was like 29 or 30, and I would see people with like 2 kids and kids that were like 5 and 8 that I kind of grew up with. I'm like, man, I don't have any children. I'm not married. I'm out here doing a pod. I'm out here doing my YouTube vlogs. Like, I'm out here in another dimension, if that makes sense, mentally. And I've even seen it at times with my sister. Like, she is such a great mom. She is such a hands-on mom. And I would see her like be doing her homework with the boys in the evening and stuff. And I'm like, I'm literally editing videos in the evening. I'm literally doing my full skincare routine. I'm literally doing an everything shower in the evening. So I realized I was in a fully different era of my life. And so I will say, maybe in a way, when we are so like, when marriage is not our number one thing, maybe we are a little weird. Okay. And the reason I say that is because in my 20s, I was not focused on dating. I was really focused on building the thing God showed me, and which was my ministry, which was YouTube. My online ministry. If you don't know, I have a ministry called His Daughter's Closet. We share weekly devotionals. It's a nonprofit, all that. So that's what I was building. I was writing my blogs. I was shooting content. I was creating devotionals. I was sharing stuff at like local boys and girls clubs. I was doing a prom dress drive. I was so focused in my 20s on what God gave me that truly dating was in the back of my mind. And I say that because if you are new here, I actually was on a abstinence journey for 7 straight years. Didn't mean I didn't date that much, but I truly was abstinent, okay? And let me tell you this. I remember there was a season I had moved back home, and I was home for about 1.5 years. And I remember I told myself when I moved back home, I was not dating anyone in this area. I was not going to date for that 1.5 years because I knew that I was going to be getting out of here soon. I knew that I needed to get up out of here. I needed to get back to this. I needed to get back to my degree. I had a lot of things to do, and I knew what God put in me. So I remember for that 1.5 years, y'all, I didn't date nobody in this area, because I knew I was leaving soon. And when that 1.5 years came up, I moved on back. I moved to a new city. I went back to school. I was so focused and driven. So there was like, and that's the thing, like, is that a little weird where you literally cut yourself off? Like, hey, I know I would love to be in a relationship kind of right now, but I'm so driven and focused that I don't want nothing to hold me back from what God has put on my path. So I will exclude dating for this season so that I can go to where I'm supposed to go, right? That might be a little weird, okay, now that I think about it. Because I even remember, like, living back here, and I'm like, somebody like, are you dating? I'm like, oh, no, I'm not dating for this time I'm here. Like, I literally would say that, oh, I'm not dating. Not dating anybody. I'm not going to date for this whole time that I live here. I'm going to focus on what I need to do. I got this job. I'm trying to make some money, and I'm trying to get to the city because I got to finish this degree. And that was like 1.5 years. I did not date anybody. I moved to a new city, and that's probably when I started opening up a little more to dating. But I will say it's really crazy when you think about it. I'm like, gosh, was that a little weird to be so like focused in your 20s that you didn't want nothing to get in the way? But I will say in this time, maybe this is a little weird. I was spending a lot of my nights up editing videos, shooting content, reading, planning, studying, coming up with new words and devotions like that I love to do. So I was like hyper focused on what I wanted. In marriage, relationships was more on the back burner. Now, it crossed my mind, and I definitely desired it a little, but it never was number one. And I will say, I think the women who are up like in their 30s or whatever, the women that he's specifically talking about, I actually believe that marriage was never number one for us. And even a girl commented and said, I'm 32 and I've never been married, no kids, but I have my own law firm. I was like, oh, that clear as day. Her dreams were number one to her. Now, I don't know if she was Christian or not. I don't know. I didn't go that deep. But like her dreams were number one to her. And that makes me even think like when it came to me in my 20s, even 30s, really, early 30s, dating and marriage was never number one. Now, over time, I will say about 30, 31, it kind of started to be in the forefront of my mind a little more. But I was already dating someone that I felt like I was going to marry, which was true. I did marry him. So it was in the forefront of my mind because I had a significant other that I loved so much and I seen longevity with, right? I seen a healthy relationship with, if that makes sense, and something I never experienced before. And so with that being said, that's why maybe marriage was at the forefront of my mind at my early 30s because I was already in that relationship. Now 32 years old, now married, I will say that I'm pretty sure I was weird. I'm pretty sure. Because even when I would get out of a relationship, I would tell myself, okay, don't date for a year. You're not going to date for 1 year. You're going to heal. You're going to focus on you. You're going to get yourself back strong, and you're going to focus on what God has put on your plate. And I did that a lot, y'all. Like, I went through 7 straight years of singleness. Okay, let me just be real. I did 7 straight years. And sometimes, and I would talk to someone a little bit in maybe those years. No, I think I went through 5. And then I like talked to someone for like I dated a guy a little bit. And then I still went through 7 straight years of abstinence and about 5 straight years of singleness. And truly, that's probably weird. But I will say, I think it actually preserves you a little because like, imagine all the guys I would have talked to, and if I would not have been on abstinence journey, I could have done things with them. If I would not have been so gung ho about what I wanted, I maybe would have dated someone in my area at the time. Maybe could have fell in love, had a baby, all the stuff, and that was not a part of my plan. And so I will say that is really what happens when I think God gives you a vision for your life. You do what you can to make sure you're working towards that vision. And I think that's where I was in my late 20s is I was just so gung-ho on my vision that if I was to start to date a guy, I had to make sure that my life was already pretty established so he couldn't come in here and move stuff around, okay? And that is something that I've been very adamant about, even in my now marriage. But before I got married, I always wanted my life, my money, my dreams to kind of be more established because I never wanted to be able for someone to come in and be like, oh, quit doing that or stop doing this type of deal. Like I never wanted that. I wanted to have my own independence. And I wanted to be able to say, oh, my life is established. This is what I do for a living. This is how I do things. Now, granted, I'm willing to adjust some stuff, but this is me. And I will say that has been such the biggest blessing of getting married later, I will say. And somebody might be like, Morgan, that's 32 is not late. But to me, it is when you've seen everyone getting married in like 22, 25s. You know what I mean? So to me, getting married later allowed me to already have a life that was a little more established. And so that we come together and it's not like now we got to establish this life together, if that makes sense. So yeah, when I came across this clip, I was like, man, he's talking about me because I actually used to think, am I weird? Like I really thought that. And now I look back and think, no, I wasn't really weird. I was just focused. But when I was like 29 and 30, I'm like, am I weird? Is something wrong with me? Or even when I was 27 and I would sit around girls and they would talk about, oh, Boaz, and when you get your husband and stuff, I would be like, I don't really want that. Like, I don't want that right now. No. I got a lot of things to take care of. I got debt. I got this degree. I got things to get in order. So I remember feeling at times in conversations, and people would message me and be like, oh, I know God has your husband for you. I know God has your husband for you. And many times when I would see that, I'd be like, ooh, please not right now. Like, no, I don't want him right now. And that was like late 20s. Girls would like message me and be like, oh, I've seen you getting married. And they would say stuff to me. And this was like mid to late 20s. I did not want that. I would not receive that word. I'd be like, okay. Because I did not want that personally. I didn't want it because I knew that I still had a lot more things I wanted to take care of before I got to that place. However, I think that might have been a little bit of fear. And also that just probably me trying to be super gung-ho on my plan. But I will say there was something that happened. I think I was like 28 at the time. I was living in this other city, and I remember I called my mom, and I called her crying. And I was crying because, and now hindsight, it probably was ovulation and hormones. But at the time, I didn't understand what was going on with me. And it was like 28 maybe. And it's like, I started getting this really big wave of just lust, okay? Like real talk. And at the time, I think it had been like 7 or 8 years of abstinence. And maybe kind of loneliness. I don't know. It was a mix of something. But I remember I just started like desiring random things, like people. Like it would be like a man on the side of the road. I would just be like, oh, I want him. Don't know where this was coming from. And it started happening like consistently for every couple of months. And I remember one day I called my mom crying and I was like, Mom, something's wrong with me. Like, I don't know if I'm just lonely. I don't know what it is. I was like, but I'm desiring like everything. Like every man that walks around, like this isn't me. I usually just closed off to this stuff. And I remember she was like, let's pray. Let's pray that, God knows your desires and he will help you control those things. Because like I had been abstinent for a very long time. And she's like, and then that you'll also get married and to help you with those desires because you can control them now. But now it's just like they're amped up, And so I remember me and her, we were on the phone and we prayed. And I think I was like 27 at the time, maybe 28. I can't for sure know. But I was somewhere around there. And that we prayed that prayer that God would help me with my desires, but he'll also help me when it's time to get married, that I will have a place to give those desires to safely or something like that. So that was something that happened later in my 20s, where I think I started to notice that I did desire a significant other. I did desire marriage, but for a long time there, I didn't. It was kind of like, it was never number one. And then eventually it became kind of more to the forefront. And that is why I say, maybe we are a little weird, and maybe that's okay. Like, when you're like, maybe it's okay that you're really gung-ho for what you want, you know? And so maybe it's okay to be a little weird and a little different in that area, but I do believe it benefits you in the long run. And I will say that now, 32, I'm so glad that I did it the way that I did do it and not get married when I was younger, because it would have been other people, and it would have been truly out of just the youngness mindset, youthfulness kind of, and it would have been out of maybe a need of being saved and taken care of versus a need of just like, I really dig this person and like this person, you know? So that is a whole different experience. But I just wanted to respond to that video, because when I made my comment, a lot of women started loving it and liking it and was like, oh, I'm so happy for you and things like that. And it's like, yeah, like, I'm happy too, but I'm so happy that I went the longer route. I'm happy that I was a little bit of a late bloomer, if that makes sense, because it really preserved me and it really kept me focused. But also, like, I did have bad relationship experiences even in the midst of that. But for the most part, nothing was like super detrimental to me. Nothing was detrimental to my life. Nothing was detrimental to my health. Nothing was detrimental to my well-being. Nothing was detrimental to my finances, like nothing like that. And so I think having those boundaries really protected me. And so doing it at 30, getting married at 32 versus when I was 28 or 24 or 22 has really preserved me. And I think it's just made me have a better life, honestly, like really. And so I do agree. Maybe we are weird, and maybe something is a little wrong. Maybe we're obsessed with whatever's number one in our life at that time. And my number one was Jesus and my purpose. And so then after that got more established, then I started to notice I desired marriage. And I think that's okay, ladies. I think that's okay when something else is number one and it's not kids and marriage and, oh, the baby. That's not number one. And even now, being married, still number one is still Jesus and my purpose. Like, it's still that, even with being married. And so I think that is okay. You know, like, children are not number one. Obviously, I'm married now, so that isn't number one. Like, number one is Jesus in my life and my purpose. And obviously now my husband's up there and my marriages. But really, like, it's okay to be a little different, I think. And I think that's what it is. It's okay to be different. It's okay to have different plans for your life than maybe what other people would deem at 32 you should have. You should be married at 32, or you should have babies at 32, and you should be going through at least one divorce by now or something. I don't know. But like, no, don't go that route. Don't go the route that people think you should be going. Go the route that feels natural, feels right for your life. And for me, for some reason, all through my 20s and early 30s now, what was number one was my purpose and Jesus. And that was all that I saw. That's all that I wanted. And that protected me in a way. But also, too, I will say it made me have a little lack of social life for a season there. I definitely did have a very low social life because I was so focused and so gung-ho. But now with time, I was able to kind of find a balance in that, to where I started going out again and having a social life and things like that. And so, yeah, I think it's a process. I think that's what this journey is. It's a full process. You're learning yourself. And so if you're 32 or over the age of 32 and you are not married and you've never been married, you don't have children, and you feel like, man, am I weird? Girl, you're not weird. You just have something else that's number one. So get your life in order, take care of you, boo, and everything will work out and flow the way it needs to. Okay, girl? So hopefully y'all enjoyed this episode of the Pretty Fearless Pod. Make sure you check us out on Apple and Spotify. Comment down below any of your tips or takeaways. And if you want any of the links to any of my free resources like smoothies, all that good stuff, check the show notes or the link in the description box. And I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye, ladies. Stay fearless.